What's going on, guys? It's starting to thin out a little bit more. It's going to take a while for that to go away. Yeah, it's going to take a while for it to go away. Surgery, blood vessel, pressure in the body, breathing tube, blood vessel pop. Somebody asked me a question about the car Wizzard. They said if him telling people that the fix for an F150 with a 5-liter, specifically an older one, like 11-12 model, that was to add some Lucas oil stabilizer to it in order to get the low oil light and kind of bring some security to the customer driving the vehicle, knowing that the low oil pressure light has been on. The answer to the question on whether using Lucas oil stabilizer can fix that problem, yes or no, is yes. There were some people that critiqued him pretty roughly, one person in particular that was very, very ignorant about it. And the car Wizzard said that he had checked all the basic stuff that he knew to check, and he reached out to his friends at Ford and told them to dump some Lucas in it and get the oil pressure back up. That's absolutely correct. You can buy quite a bit of time with adding oil stabilizer to a vehicle that's losing oil pressure if it brings the oil pressure back up before having to replace the motor. Now, yes, you are babying it, or you call you're on borrowed time. Sure, it could be borrowed time. Could be a year, could be 2 years, could be another 30,000-40,000 mile on that vehicle. Problem I run into with stuff like that is you dump oil stabilizer into a vehicle that has loose tolerances around the rods, main bearings, the rod bearings and stuff like that. It's losing pressure. You dump that oil stabilizer in there, which is like 110 weight. I think it says viscosity index at so many degrees on the Lucas data sheet for that. It says it's 110. And when you're taking 110 weight oil, which it comes out almost like honey, and you're dumping it into a motor, and you're supposed to use 20% Lucas, 80% motor oil. I mean, you could have some of these F150s on these newer ones that have upwards of 10 quarts. 20% of that is 2.5 giant quarts of, no, it's 2 quarts of that Lucas. So you're putting 2 quarts of 110 weight oil, it's almost like honey, into 5W30, and it's now been diluted because the Lucas doesn't have additive package to it, and now you're diluting the additive package that's in the oil that's there. You're creating a thicker oil, so it's going to be harder for those passages and stuff or that oil to make it through cam phaser and oil galleys and stuff like that all over. So at some point, you're going to have to start asking yourself, is it worth it? If I'm compromising possible timing advancement and retarding, if I'm compromising heat dissipation from oil being able to get on things and get out of it very quick, if I'm adding a big 110 weight stabilizer to it, and what other damage can I be doing by doing that, especially if it's a big system? I guess that's for the faint of heart. At least you get your oil pressure back, and the vehicle seems to be running fine at the time. It's buying you some more time. There could be a pro and a con to it. It is a common thing for an 11, 12, 13 F-150 to come into the dealership with, 150, 200,000 miles plus on it, losing oil pressure, and have to put a stabilizer in it to bring it back up, or else the customer's putting a $8,000, $9,000 engine in the truck. So what he said is true. I'm a Ford technician, master, certified technician, soon to be senior master, and I approve his message. Adding an oil stabilizer to that vehicle can bring the oil pressure back up to par and at least buy you some time. It's already on its way out, so what have you got to lose, right? There's a reason why it will. It's because the tolerances there's too much tolerance inside the motor to begin with. It's part of the reason why it's mainly the reason how they figure out oil viscosity, based on tolerances, size of rod journal, size of bearing surface, and when you put the rod in the bearing and you clamp everything down, what are the, to use a strip of plastic gauge in between your bearing and your rotating assembly, whatever that may be at the main or the rod. Figure out what your clearance is at a given torque spec, and that a lot of times is what they actually help by multiplying it. There's a formula that they use to figure out what type of oil should be in that motor based on clearances. But other than that, he is correct. So nothing to critique there. A little bit more of a different explanation. But basically you're just putting thicker oil in the vehicle to bring up the oil pressure so the oil pressure light goes away, and you're buying yourself some time before you have to replace that motor or rebuild it, just because the tolerances are too wide and it can't sustain oil pressure with oil just dumping out of areas that it has no resistance to, which also makes, you know, flow go down as well. They have a relationship. Volume of flow and pressure have a relationship with each other. So, you know, it is what it is, man. So there's your quick take on the Car Wizzard. I'm going to link his video in the description. Just remember, the entire video is not solely about the low oil pressure. He's got some other things in the video, and you'll have to search through it and know when to finish watching it all the way or when to cut out whenever the F-150 low oil pressures talk is done.